Theory is defined as organized systems that explain or predict how things work. According to McCall, theory is a tool for thinking. She stressed that theory should be used by practitioners as a toolbox in the occupational therapy process. The OT toolbox comprises tools for practitioners to use to address clients' occupational problems. The theoretical tools facilitate understanding of human occupation. The tools used in the occupational therapy process are conceptual models and models of practice. Occupational therapy interventions are guided by practice models, whereas conceptual models aid practitioners in understanding occupation. The model of human occupation is one of the most popular models in the OT profession, and it is the main subject of this presentation. This presentation focuses on the model's concept and how they guided the OT profession. The MOHO model addresses occupational barriers and challenges clients encounter in maintaining involvement in life roles and routine. MOHO has three important concepts that address motivation, routine of occupations, skills performance, and how the environment affects occupation. These concepts are volition, habituation, and performance capacity. The concepts help us gather data about the clients to determine their strength and limitation. MOHO's goal in the OT process is to help practitioners establish relationships among clients' skills, habits, motivation, and occupation. MOHO's intervention techniques help us treat clients' occupational performance and volition problems for a positive change in the occupation they engage in. Lee et al. Conducted a study about therapists using the MOHO model in everyday practice. The therapists developed a structured treatment plan, a client-centered approach, and a professional identity by using the MOHO model as a guide for treatment intervention.
MOHO was developed by Dr. Gary Kiel-Hofner and Dr. Janice Burke in 1980. Dr. Kiel-Hofner created this model as a result of his master's thesis with the hope of assisting people with health conditions and disabilities live full and satisfying lives. Janice Burke collaborated with Dr. Kiel-Hofner and together were mentored by another influential person of OT named Mary Riley. Today, there continues to be numerous research promoting MOHO and contributing to its effectiveness in OT practice for people with various conditions and disabilities. An example is a study conducted by Lauren Winterbottom and others in 2023, during which they tested the use of MOHO-based interventions to improve ADL performance for adults living with stroke. Findings showed an improvement in ADL performance from those who received interventions based on the MOHO approach. The three concepts of MOHO are volition, habituation, and performance capacity. Volition refers to a person's motivation and desire to engage in an occupation. This includes their personal causation, their values, and interests, and are usually shaped by previous experiences. Habituation involves the routines that pattern the occupation. It emphasizes one's habits and life roles, which make up how people routinely interact with their environment. For example, how we perform our self-care routine in the morning or how we complete familiar tasks. Some examples of roles include being a spouse, a parent, or a caretaker. Lastly, performance capacity refers to one's physical and mental abilities and how they are used during occupational performance. It is affected by the status of our bodily systems, including our musculoskeletal, cardiovascular, and neurological systems. All three of these concepts are considered in the MOHO, and they all come together to determine the outcome, which is occupational engagement, and this refers to what a client is doing, thinking, and feeling as a result of therapy. Occupational engagement drives change and can lead to one creating an occupational identity and competence. Three ways that we examine a person's engagement in their occupation are through occupational participation, occupational performance, and occupational skill.
The model of human occupation applies to individual client functioning by being client-centered and occupation-based. This means providing an individualized approach to promote the client's abilities and function. The model focuses on the core concepts that were previously stated, which means it would be different for everybody, as we all don't have the same interests, roles, routines, and other abilities. Performance capacity is something that observes, measures, and modifies specific activities based on the client's difficulties, interests, motivations, habits, and roles. This provides an increased performance capacity as it is something that is meaningful to them and will motivate them to engage in. There are several disabilities that can prevent a client from achieving their desired outcome. A few disabilities include physical, mental, cognitive, neurological, or even developmental. However, MOHO also mentions factors beyond disabilities that can prevent a client from achieving their desired outcome. These are known as occupational barriers. These are posed by physical and social environment, having difficulties in choosing and finding meaningful occupations, and also the challenge of maintaining positive involvement in life roles and routines. This model talks about how change occurs for clients. The model states that all change in OT is driven by clients' occupational engagement. The way a client does, thinks, and feels all shapes change. There are many different things that can influence a client's occupational performance in a positive direction. Individualizing a client's plan of care using the model focuses on the core concepts as stated before: volition, habituation, and performance capacity. Additionally, there are other things such as environmental conditions, participation, occupational competence, identity, and skills. These will all be incorporated and result in good change and progress along therapy. The model exemplifies different aspects involved in how personalized it is to each client. A client's occupational performance can be influenced positively by performing the important and meaningful task to them, which also aligns to MOHO. As stated in the text, practitioners using MOHO would ask what their client's thoughts, feelings, are in relation to personal causation, values, and interests. A study done by Mandy Graham demonstrated how mental health challenges impact the volition, habituation, and performance capacity. Overall, the research highlighted the significance of using this MOHO framework to meet the occupational needs of the mothers facing with this mental illness, promoting a comprehensive and personalized approach to aid their recovery and improve their quality of life.
To learn more about clients' functioning using the model of human occupation, occupational therapists use a variety of assessments strategy, questions, and observational methods. Therapists use questions about daily routines and occupation. You can ask the client how is a typical day and what activities they find meaningful, challenge and strength, inquire about tasks the client finds difficult or successful, motivation and interest, explore what motivates the client to engage in activities, and their interest in pursuing certain hobbies. These questions provide insight into the client's volition, habituation, and performance capacities. There are some ways to observe occupational performance, such as task observation and contextual observation. On the task observations, you can watch the patient preparing meaningful tasks like cooking, dressing, to assess motor performance, process, and communication skills. On the contextual observations, you can observe in how the client performs tasks in the natural environment to understand the influence of context. Observing clients as they performing tasks in the natural environment also provides insight into how contextual factors impact in their abilities. MOHO offers assessment tools like occupational performance history intervention. It's a semi-structured interview gathering details history of the client's occupational roles. The model of human occupation screening tools assess the client's occupational performance focusing on volition, habituation, skills, and environmental. Volition and questionnaire evaluates the client's motivation to engage in tasks by observing responses to different activities. Kiel-Hofner, ETAL 2004. For interventions, MOHO emphasizes client-centered strategy. This includes using motivational interviewing to enhance a client's volition, building consistent routines to reinforce habituation, and providing task-specific skills training to improve performance capacity. Kiel-Hofner, 2008. Through these approaches, MOHO aims to engage in a client's occupational competence, helping them engage more effectively in meaningful activities and everyday life tasks.